All right, good morning, everybody. January 15th, 2022, Wildcard weekend. I'm pretty pumped for this one. Rob, Stona, Brandon Graham, Igor Henriquez. Guys, before we get into it, I think we should talk a little bit about that Monday night game with the Chargers and the Raiders. So, Brandon, I know that you started off. Let us know you're thinking that was crazy. I wanted to go to bed.
Yeah, that was an electric game. That was just from start to finish. Of course, Brandon Staley and Richard Bisecki, having a great game plan for the entire game. But hey, Derek Carr, small hands, Derek Carr, actually getting the ball to Zay Jones late. But Justin Herbert, I don't think I've ever seen. There's just so many things and so many storylines for this game, but I don't think I've ever seen 4 fourth down conversions in a football game in like my lifetime. That was unbelievable, right? Him getting the ball with Josh Palmer, shout out to Brampton. He's from not too far from where I grew up. Getting the ball, Mike Williams. Allen didn't really have the biggest game, but as far as they got the ball down the field, and Justin Herbert is unbelievable, man, really unbelievable. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they did. But like the going to overtime, I know everyone's sweating. I know some guys had parlays for like the Jacksonville Jaguars to win and the game to end the tie to make like $3,000. But no, you play to win the game. Shout out to Herm Edwards. You play to win the game, and that's exactly what the Raiders did, man.
Igor, your thoughts on the game?
A fantastic game. I think that was probably the game of the season. I don't think it's close, actually. I think in terms of excitement, everybody. I know people were texting me saying they were needed to go to bed and all that other stuff to go to work.
Yeah,
I thought it was fantastic. I think the obviously the whole thing about at the end of the game, did Staley mess up with the timeout? Were they just going to end in a time? I don't particularly think so. I think a division game, you don't want to be in all that controversy and asking all those questions about just running out the clock. You kind of really want to stiff the other team in the division. I think they were going to kick the field goal either way. I don't think they were going to run the clock out. I think that would have led to a lot of questions about collusion and all that other stuff. I think they wanted to avoid all that. And again, I don't know what, with like 10 seconds left and, even if you miss the field goal, worst case, it's a tie. But at least there's no questions about it. I think that was one of the main talking points. But a fantastic game. Justin Herbert, man, on those fourth downs, like it was crazy how he couldn't complete a pass up until the last ones, and he hit like 5, 6 in a row. It was absolutely insane. But great game, man. It sucked that one team had to be eliminated there because, man, they really fought for it. So fantastic stuff.
And Rob, I know that you had Vegas finishing that last night division, your division at the beginning of the season, and I guess they just, shocked you until the end.
Yeah, well, they got off to a good start, so I kind of altered my expectations, but good on them. I don't understand all the criticism of Brandon Staley, though. I believe there was 38 seconds left, but there was only 4 seconds on the play clock, so Oakland was going to run another play. And if you rewatch the tape, they had a wide receiver open. I agree with the timeout because that was your season. And if they stop them there, if Oakland doesn't gain, or sorry, Vegas, if Vegas doesn't gain any yards, it's a 54-yarder. And I was very interested to see if they were going to kick that because, as we all know, having played football, the longer the field goal, the lower it's got to go.
Yeah.
And, the higher chance of it being blocked. So I was really excited. I didn't really care about the timeout because I thought it made a lot of sense. Make sure this is your season. Make sure you have your defense set up. I didn't realize how much, and someone brought this up. I listened to a podcast. If that game had tied, there were a ton of people that had Jacksonville and the tie, and it was not like 10-1 odds. We were talking about like 500, 600, 700 to 1 odds of that coming up. So Vegas would have taken a beating had they tied that game. And the last thing I just want to bring up, I agree with all you guys, like the fourth downs, everything about that game, fantastic. But it just seems, as a Broncos fan, I just watch the Chargers lose these games all the time. And that's why I have no faith in them with Justin Herbert. He's a fantastic quarterback, but it's just like a losing, meddling organization. And I it just seems like whenever a big spot, they just can't come in and get it done.
Since Schottenheimer, they haven't been great, like since that firing, right?
I mean, like even back to like the Phil Rivers days. I mean, they had Drew Brees. They couldn't do anything with them. It's just Dan Fouts they've had good teams. It's just they can't seem to win. It's just funny that some organizations are just like that in the NFL.
Treadmill team. I have one thing to say about the last thing. Sorry, Joe. Is that on that fourth down? First of all, if you wanted them to tie the game, if you wanted actually to win that game, Chargers got to stop the run. Josh Jacobs was tearing them up. That was terrible defense, first of all. And if the Raiders tie that game, you have to play the Chiefs. They rather play the Bengals than play the Chiefs, unfortunately. So you play to win the game. Bottom line.
Was it? It was third down, I think, on that run, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, they could. Brandon, 100%. And I thought that overtime was so poorly played because if I was the Chargers when I got that ball with 7 minutes left, my only thought was burn the clock. I want to score with as little time because we're not going to get the ball back anyway. So just the tie was good for them. The tie was not good for Oakland or Vegas. Oh, I'm going to keep doing it. Vegas, the tie was good. Or the tie was not good for Vegas. It was good for the Chargers because I believe the Chargers would have gone to Cincinnati.
Right. Exactly.
So either way, and so I thought it was totally misplayed. But yeah, they just couldn't stop the run like all game. The fourth downs with Brandon Staley. I hope people have now seen that. 4th and 2 on your own 20-yard line in the fourth quarter. It's just it's too unconventional, I believe.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's like the guys growing up with Madden that always go on fourth down. Now Brandon Staley's that guy, right? So that's the reason why. Because that's what it is. That's what it is. These newer
great point. Fantastic point. Yeah.
But that was the dumbest fourth down call I've ever seen in my lifetime. Like, why are you going on the fourth and 5 on your own 20?
I think the Chargers would have gone to Buffalo though because the Chargers and the Patriots would have been tied, and the Patriots beat the Chargers already this season, so that would have gone to the Pats. So I think it would have been Buffalo. But again, either way, I mean, it would have been a playoff situation, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but they just—I don't know. Both teams, they were going up and down the field, and it's like you guys realize, ties are good here, but it ended up being a fantastic finish.
I think for the Chargers, the problem was that they just couldn't move the ball until the final play, so they didn't burn the clock because they just weren't getting any yardage at all, and when they needed it, right, it was always 4th and 7, 4th and 10. It was crazy.
I didn't feel like they were running the ball at all on first down either, especially in overtime. I would have been running the ball. You've got 4 downs every play. Like that was the good thing about getting the ball second is you've got four downs to get to 10, not 3. So
yeah, completely abandoned the run. That's Brandon Staley literally just put it on Justin Herbert, right?
My question is too, like, are we going to see a lot of fourth down, going for it in these playoff games? Because when the playoffs come, I feel like a lot of coaches would probably rather not risk turning that ball over on their own side of the 50. But let's get into this week's games. And Igor, we'll start with you because Tampa and Tom Brady are at home going against Philly and Jalen Hurts. And, Tampa, obviously when the Super Bowl finished last year, everybody at Tampa, coming back, repeating strong. And then we talked about Godwin going down earlier, which was massive for them, and then the Antonio Brown fiasco that's done. And we had the question on this pod, is this team done just because they don't have the weapons to keep up like they used to? So we'll throw to you. The spread is, just go back, I believe they've gone down to 8, and it was, I remember seeing about 9.5 or something like that before. So it's at 8. Let me know your insight. Who you got?
I mean, I think Tampa wins the game. I think 8 points is a lot in the situation. So, I mean, I'm going to take the Eagles to cover the game. The Tampa situation is going to rely on obviously a different strategy than what they had last season. They're going to obviously need strong defensive play, obviously continuously, but it's going to be a 3-headed situation of Fournette if he's healthy, Gronkowski, and Mike Evans. So it's not like Brady doesn't have weapons, and he does get Scotty Miller back. Miller missed a good portion of it, so it's not Godwin, it's not Antonio Brown. They're still capable offensively. And again, the offensive line is solid. They're going to need to rely on running the ball a little bit more than what they did in the run last year, I think. And again, a lot's going to rely on Fournette. And, we were talking about Levante David and that defense. They've been, okay. They're not the 85 Bears or anything like that. They went on a crazy run last year. But, they're going to have, if they beat the Eagles, they're going to have 2 home games because they ended up with the 2nd seed because the Rams kind of choked it away a little bit. So, I mean, they're going to be in for, I would say, a better situation than last year because they had to go on the road after the first game. So they can still make some noise, but, and this is a good matchup, I believe. It's basically they're the best running team against the Bay, and again against one of the better defensive, like as Brandon mentioned before the show, but one of the better defensive teams running the ball. And then the Buccaneers pass the ball quite well and so forth. So it's going to be a good game. I'll take the Eagles to cover. I think the Bucs win by a touchdown, but it's going to be an interesting playoff run for the Bucs because they're still capable, but they're not as much of a juggernaut, obviously, as they were coming into the season or anything, because they do have some limitations.
Brandon.
Yeah, like Igor said, I agree. I don't agree necessarily about the cover. I think this is a game where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win by around 10 points. But once again, it's the worst matchup for the Eagles, a team that runs the ball. Sirianni loves to run the ball, doesn't really spread the ball out too much, going against pretty much one of the premier run-stopping defenses in the NFL. It's the absolute worst matchup for the Eagles. So, and they're going to Tampa Bay too. And I don't see Justin Hurts, Jalen Hurts actually, having a great game and spreading the ball and whatnot. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay to cover with and at least win like 20-10.
Well, okay, Rob.
I'm kind of torn on this one. I would take Tampa to cover the first half if I could. It's probably going to be like 4.5, 5 points. I feel like Philadelphia is a really bad first half team. I feel like they are a team that's second half. They kind of just let their guys go in and do their thing. But I'll take Tampa. Philly plus the 8.5. It's just a lot of points. I want to fade Tampa this year because I just don't think they're going to go back to Super Bowl. I like to kind of fade teams like that. So I'll lean Philly here.
I'm going Philly, and to be honest, I think that Philly has a decent shot to kind of upset Tampa in this spot. Now, another question: if Philly ends up losing this game, is Jalen Hurts back, as a starting quarterback next year? Because if I'm Tampa with that defense, I want him to sit in the pocket and make those throws. You don't want him scrambling. That's when he's really at his best, I guess, right? So that's, and I guess Josh Allen's another guy like that, even though he has the arm. But I think Philly's going to keep this close. I think it's going to be really low scoring. I think that Philly has, maybe an underrated defense. I know most people know them as a good defensive team. I think they're going to run the ball. Sanders is going to get his fix there. And I'm just really worried that Brady doesn't have, the speed guys going downfield. Obviously, Evans is there, and they're going to probably double team, or there's going to be a safety there the whole time. I'm worried. If Tampa at home is really good, so I think they might squeak it out, but I'm definitely taking Philly plus the 8 points. Brandon, let's go to you. Let's go to the first game on the slate. Cincinnati Bengals. You got the orange shirt on. I know you're ready to go. The Raiders are there. You got the hoodie on. You got the whole thing going on.
Can't find my Chad Johnson jersey.
I know that you think that they're going to win. Are they going to cover this game?
Absolutely. I'm gonna give them a confidence. No, I really think the only reason I say if it was the Chargers going there, different story. But now with the Raiders going, I know they're riding high. They've had a lot of momentum, going through all the emotion they had in that Sunday night game, and then now coming into play on a Saturday. That's a lot for them to kind of carry over and still sustain. And another big tidbit here is that both of these teams, the Raiders haven't won in 19 years, a playoff game. The Bengals literally have not won since 91. Like, I haven't been alive since.
Text message was sent. I heard that one
text
too.
message, exactly. That's nuts. So this is a great day for both fan bases. But I'm going to say that the Bengals will cover because Derek Carr is terrible in the cold. Jack Del Rio even tweeted out saying he's terrible in the cold. He's 0-4 in the cold. He hasn't won a playoff game. I think this is definitely riding in the Bengals direction. So I'm going to go Bengals to cover the 5.5.
All right. Rob, let's go to you.
I was so excited, and Brandon's going to hate me for this. I was excited to fade the Bengals because I like the Bengals. I think that they're a great story, but they're young, and young teams in this spot, as a favorite at home, there's going to be a lot of pressure. I was excited to fade them. They got probably the best matchup in terms of Vegas, like Brandon said, because it is a tough spot for them. Traveling after the last game, emotional, and they get the first game on Saturday. They really got jobs. I'll still take Vegas to cover. I don't know if they're going to win, but I just expect Cincinnati to maybe have a bit of not a flat spot because it's the playoffs, but yeah, like just maybe they're a little nervous. They're young. They haven't been to the playoffs. I don't think Oakland made it last year either, but I'm going to go with Vegas here. I was surprised that a lot of the sharps were actually split on this. I thought a lot of the sharps would be on Vegas. but they are split. So some like Cincy, some like Vegas. I'll go Vegas plus the 5.5. But I worry about Cincinnati's youth.
And Igor.
Well, these two teams matched up already earlier. I think it was I think Cincy won by 19 at Vegas. So again, it's teams that have different styles. I think the Bengals have a severe advantage in terms of the wide receiving corps with Chase and T. Higgins and so forth against a pretty lackluster Raiders secondary at times. But then again, you also have Joe Burrow, who takes the most sacks against like Max Crosby, who causes the most pressures. So it's one of those situations. I think that'll be who wins out. If Burrow gets buried a ton and it doesn't have any time, he's going to have a lot of issues, obviously. So I'm going to take the Bengals because I think they just have enough firepower. And again, I'm not a big Derek Carr believer in general. I'm a little bit more skeptical about not taking the Raiders because I think Waller will end up making a difference, but I don't know how healthy he is and so forth. But I think the Bengals will win by at least a touchdown, so I'll take the Bengals to cover.
It's a good point. Joe Burrow is the most sacked quarterback in the league.
Yeah, the Raiders have a pretty good pass rush, so that'll be a key to the game, absolutely.
And I was listening to a few pods too, and I also just thought about it in general. When we looked at Kansas City last year in the Super Bowl, we saw the warning signs when people were saying, "Oh, like this O-line is literally beleaguered. Like there's not much left there." But everybody still said, "Don't worry, it's Patty Mahomes and the boys will get it done." Yeah. And not to say that Cincinnati's injured, obviously, with their O-line, but we knew coming into the season that it wasn't great. And then now with the Raiders, and like you said, Crosby and the show he put on last game, specifically in the fourth quarter. If I'm a Bengals fan, I'm really worried about Crosby coming from the weak side. So I'm gonna go the Raiders here plus the 5.5 because I don't think that in this kind of cold weather you're gonna get those kind of runs from your receivers. I'm assuming it's gonna be just as cold as it is here, and it's about minus 22 Celsius, maybe a little bit warmer. And they have that lake effect there too. And sorry, they might not. I'm confusing with Cleveland. But it's going to be cold. I'm going to take the Raiders. I know another thing that I'm worried about is they're coming off their Super Bowl last week with that big win. So I'm kind of worried about that. But I think worst case, the game is close and it's going to go down right to the wire. I think the first game is going to be a great one. So I'm going to put myself down for Vegas. Go ahead.
Derek Carr literally cannot throw in the cold, right?
Well, we're going to find out. And I want to get that too when Igor was saying that because I feel like Derek Carr has not got the respect. And this is just another year that he's put up decent numbers. And his contract's up, I think, at the end of next year. Go ahead, Igor.
The one thing about the first game is that, again, the difference really was actually that Joe Mixon really killed them with the running game. So if they can really get Mixon going and again get that pass rush a little bit laid back, I think that ends up being. I think he ended up with like 120 plus yards and a few touchdowns. He had a really good game. So I think again there's a lot of advantages for the Bengals and the whole Derek Carr thing. I don't know. It's just what he seems to make a lot of those those moments where you think it's right there for him and he doesn't do even in the game against the Chargers, he had a couple wide receivers, missed them on easy touchdowns. I don't know. I just don't trust the guy in really tough situations. So it should be an entertaining game.
I was not on last week, so I missed this, but I don't know if you guys discussed it. Zach Taylor, the coach of Cincinnati, I don't know what he was thinking in that Kansas City game with the 4th and 4s, and I'm off of him now. He's now upset me. He is like in the Brandon Staley category of like this, like the Madden. We should call it that, Brandon. It's a wonderful like the 4th and 4 and you're not kicking a field goal. I hated that. So I'm out on this guy. I thought it was just as poorly coached. This is going to be one of the worst coach games because I don't trust the Vegas coach. He looks like he should be like fixing like plumbing somewhere. Like he does not look like an NFL coach, right? Like so, it is going to be interesting to see how this game plays out.
Yeah, him and Brandon Staley, Zach Taylor, Brandon Staley are sure the same brain, man, for sure.
That new age analytics.
Yeah, it's that analytics stuff where they think like 4th and 3, 4th and 2. The analytics tell you.
And that luck runs out eventually, right? Like you're not going to get those 4th downs all the time. Like I said, we're going to find out when we do the show next week, especially in the playoffs.
Well, you mentioned Staley. I mean, I think Staley went on like a 4th and 2 on his own 20. I didn't get it. Yeah. That ended up being one of the turning points in the game because that cost him points right there. Like nobody does that on your own yard line.
That was the worst. That was the worst decision I've ever seen in my life.
That was
crazy. I watch a lot of football.
It's not the 4th quarter with 2 minutes left. Like you don't do that, right?
That was a very weird call.
Very
Actually,
rare.
Pete Carroll throwing it on the 1 yard line against the Patriots is the worst call of all time. But that's right up there too.
No, thank heavens he did that. That was a great call. What are you talking about? It's a great call.
Speaking of great calls, Igor, let's get to the Patriots taking on the Bills. So that's going to be tonight at 8:15. I'm going to get to go with some buddies and watch that. Apparently, someone's going through a table, win or loss tonight, from what I've heard about it. But so Patriots, 4-point dogs going to Buffalo, and the last time that the Pats went to Buffalo was that infamous win bowl game where the Bills players were embarrassed there in the post game. Meeting or conference there. So we're going to go to you first, Igor. Let me know. I'm guessing you love both Patriots to win and cover. So take your time.
I think, obviously the Patriots are the underdogs going to Buffalo and so forth. But, there's definitely some points to take a look at. One that, Bill gets to take on the Bills for a third time. And usually, again, you have a pretty good feel. They did the Bills did a number on the Patriots in New England. Josh Allen has had a really good game. He's actually got some really bad numbers in the cold. We mentioned a lot about Carr. Like, I was looking at Allen in the cold. He doesn't really like playing in that type of weather. His numbers are dramatically low when it comes to certain things like that. I think 4.5 is a little much. I think it'll be a field goal game. So by that, I am taking the Patriots to cover. I'm not confident in a W because, again, I think Allen is probably the biggest factor in the entire game. But the factors are, again, the Bills, defense in terms of the secondary is pretty elite, and Max going into his first playoff game, there's a lot to it. I think they'll take the ball out of his hands. I think they'll run it a ton with Harris and Ramondre Stevenson and Bolden. So I think they'll do it pretty much almost, not to the extent, but they'll do a lot what they did when they went to Buffalo the first time, which is try to run it down their throats. Problem again, they're missing Isaiah Wynn, the left tackle, so that they have their own issues on the O-line. So I'll take the Pats to cover, but I'm not very confident in the win. I got to be honest with that.
Brandon.
Yeah. So first of all, do we want to mention the game last week against the Miami Dolphins? We don't want to skip by that.
No, I told you that was a lock. I told you that was a lock. That was my lock last week, that they were going to lose that game. No one listened to me, but I told you, in Miami, they always lose that game. It's like a tradition. It doesn't matter how good they are. They always lose that game. It's tradition.
That was awful. But yeah, the Patriots are 0-2 in the wildcard weekend in the last 15 years. So imagine that. Winning as many Super Bowls as they've had, 0-2 in the wildcard weekend, right? It goes to show you how successful they've been outside of the wildcard weekend. But yeah, no, I have in this game, though, I think the Buffalo Bills, 4.5. I think it's a 4.5 right now, or 4 points. I went down to 4. Okay, so I'm going to say that Josh Allen, those guys actually play a good game, and I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. I'm taking this as the game of the week, or game of the Saturday at least. I'm going to say that. I'm going to take the Bills. They won, I believe, 32-20 something last game, and that was actually a balanced game. The 17 or 30 mile per hour, 32-21. There we go. The 30 mile per hour wins were an anomaly. That's the reason why the Patriots won the first game. That's not regular football. So this is gonna be regular football, and I see the Bills actually winning and covering.
Do we? Who did? I believe they lost to Tennessee. That's a fantastic stat, Brandon. I think Tennessee the last year of Brady was that. I can't even think of when they were.
Yeah, it was the Brady Tennessee game where Logan Ryan intercepted him at the end, but the game was pretty much.
Yeah, I can't.
That was the last one.
I can't even think of the other time that they didn't get that first round bye, which is part of the reason why they've had so much success.
I think I recall them losing to like Baltimore in one of those.
Like, they got killed at
Joe Flacco.
Lewis, yes.
That might have been them. Yeah, and they had one where they lost pretty early to the Baltimore Ravens on a wild card situation.
Really? I thought, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Could be that one. That's what I'm thinking.
I'll pull it up. That happened for sure. Yeah,
that's an interesting stat.
I thought Baltimore was the AFC Championship that year, but okay.
I think that's the year that Baltimore went and won the Super Bowl against the 49ers.
Yeah, 2013. Okay, I have a lot of thoughts on this game. First, I love the Pats here, outside of one thing. That injury list, and Igor, you talked about it. Isaiah Wynn, I'm a little worried whenever you lose a tackle. Their injury list is huge. Buffalo has nobody on their injury list, so they are going in at 100%. But I kind of finally made the comparison of I've been trying to figure out who Josh Allen is. I think his comp is Cam Newton. He's big, he's strong, he's mobile, he's fast, but he isn't accurate. He misses guys by a lot. I don't buy this Josh Allen like
Patty Mahomes comparison.
No, he's nowhere near. That's not even. But he unless he's running and scrambling, I don't find him to be very dangerous. I've watched Buffalo's last 2 games. They played Atlanta. It was a tight game in the fourth, and they had a backdoor cover. And then the Jets last week was a 7-point game I was watching. I finally got a little bit of luck in my pool and got the Jets, Buffalo to hit that. But that was a ridiculous cover. So they have not been as impressive. And New England is off that bad loss to Miami, which they lose, like Igor said, every single year in Miami. I love that bet. So I think it's a good spot. The injuries are scaring me away. I would take New England to win this game, but the injuries are worrying me. So I'll take Buffalo by 3. So I will take New England to cover.
4.
Okay. So Brandon's actually the only one on the Buffalo cover there. Interesting. I have New England too. And Rob, it's interesting you say that because I was just saying that about Jalen Hurts. And there's a few other quarterbacks that Lamar Jackson's another guy, right? When you play these quarterbacks, you want them to sit in the pocket and make these throws because they're not accurate. Obviously, Josh Allen's a lot better than both those guys, Cam Newton. It hurts and everybody else that I mentioned. But yeah, I think Bill's going to have that plan. And I think that if Buffalo does get this game, I think it's going to be, and Igor always says the 3-point game. I think it might be less than 3 points because the comparison I always make is, one team goes down, gets a touchdown, then it's a few field goals, a 7-6 game, you play off that kind of difference, right? So I think it might even be like a 1-point game in this one. I'm going to take New England. I think it's going to be very low scoring. I think that the Pats defense is really going to bring it today. But yeah, I'm worried about the offensive line there for New England too with the left tackle, especially because they run the ball so much, and they need to protect Mac. And I think that they're going to keep the ball out of his hands. They're going to keep play action plays, a lot of short throws. So I'll go with New England as well. Let's go to possibly the game of the week, one that a lot of people are talking about. San Fran's traveling to Dallas, and Dallas winning that division. Igor, say it.
Oh, them Cowboys!
I saw your face. You're waiting for it. Dallas at home, 3-point favorites, and it's dropped. I believe it started at about 4. And I've heard from some books that 65% of the money has been on San Fran. I just went on the score app before the show. I think it was about 54% was something around that for Dallas. So this is probably the dog pick of the week, and obviously it's the shortest line here at 3. But Brandon, we'll go to you first. Let me know what you think. And Garoppolo's going to play, and I'll just throw this out there. I feel like Jimmy is similar to Derek Carr a little bit. I put them almost in the same kind of category. Maybe you guys, before you start off, let me know who you'd rather have between those two guys. Don't kind of get the respect they deserve. Now, obviously, they're not elite quarterbacks. Neither of them are top 10 guys, but those are guys that if you are playing and you have a decent defense, can both win any given week. So, Brandon, we'll go to you. Let me know Dallas -3 against San Fran.
Yeah, so this is an interesting matchup because you have Dan Quinn, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, going up against the offensive coordinator, Kyle Shanahan. Right? They know exactly what they want to do when they go at each other. And one thing that the Dallas Cowboys don't really do well, if they let over 150 yards rushing, they usually end up losing the game in that defense, right? So, and the one thing that the 49ers do really well is run the ball with Deebo Samuel, Eli Mitchell, so on and so forth. So it's a really interesting matchup here when it comes to the schemes that they're going to throw out there. No, but I have the San Francisco 49ers winning this game and actually covering as well too on the 3 points, right? I think it's definitely the most interesting game of the week, but I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to step up. I don't know about the Dallas Cowboys. If they do win this game, it's going to be really interesting to see them kind of progress through the playoffs. But no, I have the 49ers after that big win. I think they have what it takes to get through this, get through Jerry World and cover.
All right, Rob.
I'm with Brandon here. San Fran. I had 2 dark horses in each conference, and I think they both drew bad matchups. But I have New England as my dark horse in the AFC, and San Fran. Dallas was probably the worst. I think the worst matchup for them, given that they have all that offensive firepower. But Dallas has not been impressive outside of the NFC East. They are, I believe, 6-0 in division. They're only 6-5 out of division. Last 10. I mean, outside of the bad teams, like they've beaten New Orleans and they also beat Atlanta out of division, but
They beat the Vikings. I'm just going through right now. They beat the Patriots and they beat the Panthers out of the division, and they beat the Chargers in week 2 by 3. So not
and the Chargers game was a toss-up game, and the Patriots were not the Patriots, I believe, at the time. But I'm looking and they've lost. They got beat up by Denver. They lost to Vegas. They lost to Kansas City, and handily in all 3 of those games. I think that they're a little bit overrated. I like anybody, whenever I see big points, they put up over 50 the last two of the last 3 games. But you get a little worried. But I'll go with the defense. I'll go with San Fran here. I think San Fran's going to win this game.
Igor.
What can go wrong will go wrong. No, you know what? It's just looking at the line. The line is one of those super fishy lines for sure, because you would figure that Dallas would at least be getting into the 4s and maybe into the 6s. But man, I really like this San Francisco team, man. I think I've become a massive fan of Deebo Samuel, not only because he carried me to a fantasy championship, but he's just like one of the most versatile guys in the game in terms of rushing the ball and so forth. So, man, I think it's a bad matchup for Dallas in terms of a lot of factors. I think, Diggs will probably match up with Deebo, I would assume. Ayuk's starting to really, come along. Then you got Kittle. Porn star Jimmy likes to throw the deep ball, and Dallas has been susceptible to that quite a lot throughout the year. Diggs has had a great year, but he gives up a lot of yards in coverage. So he tends to take a lot of chances for those interceptions, and when he doesn't hit, he ends up being a problem in coverage. I like the Niners. I thought, I looked at this as like this is going to be the upset of the week, because I think Dallas has a great offense, but I think they could be taken to task by a solid 49ers running game. And I think Deebo, man, like watching that guy run the ball, like I've never really seen a wide. And again, I guess Cordell Patterson did that a little bit this year, but he's really tough to stop, like in any type of open yardage situation, because he's so freaking strong. I like the 49ers not only to cover, I like them to win, man. I think it's going to be, it might end up being one of those Denver type situations that Rob, like it could not even be close, but I really like the Niners to pull out the W.
Are you sure you like Deebo, knowing that he was 3 picks after N'Keal Harry and that you guys could have had him?
Well, I mean, that's why, again, let's go with Deebo and Brown. Well, I'm pretty much over that at the end of the day, because I can't mope about that anymore. It was, I think I saw a meme of that where, Deebo, Brown, Metcalf. It was obviously a terrible team. Like, what can you say? I can't. I have to like vast that from my memory, not to because the Patriots would like imagine if they had a decent weapon in terms of the wide receiving core, they would have so much better team to this day. But anyways, it's it is what it is. You burned, you got burned. He won't be on the team next year. He won't be on the team next year. He'll be a distant memory. Deebo's a beast. The funny thing is everybody was on Ayuk entering the year, and it ended up being ended up being the Deebo Samuel show that he just broke out. When he's healthy, he's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Another guy too on that receiving core is Jennings. Jennings, the guy that actually scored the last touchdown. Jimmy throws the ball a lot towards the middle of the field with Kittle, with Jennings, even with Deebo at some points too. And Deebo even throws the ball. Like that offense. They have a great offensive coordinator. They're just in Kyle Shanahan, obviously. They just do a great job there, man. So I'm a really big fan of the San Francisco 49ers. I'm just worried about Jimmy. Can Jimmy pull it off? Can he ever get back to where he once was?
Well, it could be his last game, right? It could be his last game. He loses, he's gone, right? This is basically it for him. So
I don't think you trust Trey Lance yet, man. I don't think you trust him. You can't.
But you can't sign. The only thing is Jimmy has 1 year left on his deal after this one, right?
Yeah, I think. I think they've already informed him that he's getting traded, so I think it's over. So it's it is what it is for him.
Like Aaron Rodgers go with the ring. I was gonna say when San Fran, when Kittle plays, they're a totally different team. And he missed as usual. Like he's just an injury brittle guy. I love San Fran here. Dallas, like I'll use Lamar's term, fool's gold for most of the season. Like you said, they beat up on a weak division. I was gonna say the only team worse at drafting wide receivers than the Patriots is probably the Eagles, who make mistake after mistake every year. They got one this year because they took someone out of Alabama. But generally speaking, they don't do too well. I'm gonna go San Fran. Jimmy, to me, like. I think, like I was saying earlier, I think that he's just outside of the top 10 in quarterbacks. I don't feel like he gets his respect. His biggest issue really is just staying on the field because he gets hurt all the time. But Jimmy's a guy that ever since the New England days I was a big fan of. So I'll go San Fran here. And to be honest, I think if San Fran wins this game, they could get to the Super Bowl because I think that they pose the greatest threat to even Green Bay, going on the road and running the ball, right? They're probably the best team. I'm going through the teams right now. Maybe like New England's the other one, just at running the football. By far, probably the best team. That being said, Brandon, we're going to go to you now. Let's go to Kansas City. Mike Tomlin is bringing his boys and Big Ben for his last hurrah into Arrowhead Field for 12.5-point dogs. Let's go.
Yeah, so Big Ben is literally, he's the weirdest guy. His press conferences since, like, I was in the grade 6, he's always been like, yeah, we're not that great. He's always said some bogus stuff. Oh, I'm injured. I diagnosed myself. He's a whack job. But once again, in this game, I'm going to take the Steelers to kind of cover because it's 12.5 points against Kansas City. That's a lot of points. I know last time I took Kansas City when they were up, I think the same amount of points, I think it was 14 earlier on in the year, and they actually covered. But in this game, Big Ben came on and said, hey, we don't have a chance. Najee Harris put it on his story saying, what? Like, what? He said the N-word, whatever. It just, a lot of these things, that team it's going to take a miracle, but I think they actually score points now. Again, unless Big Ben doesn't, produce or literally goes up there and just shell himself, I see they actually score a few times and actually bring it in between 12.5, right? So I take the Steelers.
Rob.
The Steelers' offense is terrible. I'm worried about them scoring points to keep up with this game. The better story is Pittsburgh, obviously, with Ben retiring. And I love that press conference because he took all the pressure and he just got rid of it off this team. I really like what he said, surprisingly. Didn't love it. Sorry, I shouldn't say I loved it. But he actually did take some of the pressure and, like, we shouldn't be here. We're just going to have fun. And he's just trying to lighten the load for his team. That defense is really good, obviously. I kind of like the under here because I think the Kansas City defense has been really rocking and rolling. So that's the
Who would
one.
have thought we would have said that at any point this year?
That was their turnaround. Their offense has gotten better, but it's nowhere near where the defense. The defense, I believe, is like the second-ranked defense over the last 10 weeks.
Which is insane.
Which is insane, but that's the reason they won the division was that defense just came to life, and I thought they were. I just don't know if Pittsburgh's going to score enough points to cover this. I've been really torn on this one. Because these are the games that Pittsburgh covers. These are the games that Mike Tomlin covers. These, like, hey, let's get up and just do what you got to do to cover. But I'll take Kansas City just to squeak it out, just because I don't think Pittsburgh's going to score enough in this game.
Kansas City on the spread?
Yeah.
Okay, 12.5. Igor.
Yeah, I gotta agree with a lot of Rob's points. I mean, these two teams played each other at Arrowhead. It was 36-10 for Kansas City. They really beat them up. There was no Kelsey in that game, and they still managed 36. And I think Tyreek Hill only had like 20 yards all game, and they got beat up by Byron Pringle and so forth. So, like, knowing that, and again, the game was only about like less than 4 weeks ago.
26.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at that, and then with Kelsey back and so forth, I agree with Rob. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to be able to score enough points. I think the December 26th game was like 23-0 at the half. I think it'll be a Kansas City blowout by could be 3 touchdowns. I'm taking KC to cover and beat them up pretty bad.
Hey, Big Ben does not go out sad.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm worried about as well.
He doesn't go outside.
Yeah.
Hey, he doesn't have much mobility. I don't know. I don't trust Ben Roethlisberger anymore. Like, his lack of mobility, I don't know.
Especially moving in the cold, right? Like, I don't know how cold it's going to be Kansas City, but it's definitely not going to be warm. Pittsburgh's offense for the year, 25th in total yards, 15th in passing, 29th in rushing. I agree with Rob. I'm not going to quite predict a shutout, but I don't see, Pittsburgh scoring more than 7 points or 10 points max in this one. I can't see them getting any defensive stops here either. Now, obviously, Watt's going to be a factor in this game. He set the record last week. He's been incredible. I think he had like 4 sacks, something like that. But for the rest of the team, like, Najee Harris is probably going to play. He has an elbow injury. to me, they don't have that spark. I know they're a cold weather team, but I just think Kansas City's going to blow them out of the water. I think it's going to get ugly from the beginning. I think Kansas City's probably score a touchdown on the first play. I might put that prop in first possession, get a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be nice. Brandon, you regretting that Pittsburgh plus 12, or you stick with it?
Listen, man, Tyreek Hill hasn't scored in 4 weeks. He hasn't got over 100 yards in like 6 weeks or so. He hasn't really played great the latter half of the season. I know he's been a little bit banged up. That's one thing. I know Byron Pringle, and you got oh my gosh, how am I forgetting his name? The guy from Georgia. You know what I'm talking about, number 17, the really fast guy. Hardman, of course.
Hardman.
Yeah, I just Big Ben cannot go sad like this. He has to at least score 14 points. Keep it at least within 12 points. You know, you have Boswell, great kicker. So I'm gonna stick with the Pittsburgh Steelers here. And obviously the Kansas City's gonna win, but I'm gonna stick that they keep it within 12.5 points.
All right, and
Terry,
I guess
worst pick of the year.
I had my thought. I was trying to think my thought. I've never seen someone. Well, there probably are others. That's more wide open. That's not that fast than Travis Kelce. Every time they're in the red zone too, I feel like he somehow he's like looking around and just catches the ball. Nobody's close to him. I think Kelce's gonna have a big game again.
Yeah.
But we'll go to the last game, the Monday Nighter, the first ever from what I know Monday Nighter in NFL football history. Arizona did not quite win the division with that late season collapse. Kyler Murray, as usual, as season gone on, hasn't been as good, doesn't run the ball as well. Going to LA, SoFi Stadium, and the Rams are 4-point favorites. Rob, let's go to you first.
I hate both these teams. I cannot express this enough. I can't stand them. Matt Stafford bugs me because all I heard was how great he is, and I think for me, he shit the bed this year. I expected him with that roster to have this like amazing season. He was only a little bit better than Jared Goff. He threw a lot of picks. He did what Matt Stafford does. He's inconsistent. That being said, I hate Cliff Kingsbury even more because I think he's an awful coach. So I don't know what to do here. Kyler Murray, down the stretch has not looked as good as he did in the beginning, given that he is undersized. The one reason that I'm going to take Arizona is that as soon as J.J. Watt went out, the defense was never the same. He is the key to that defense. They stopped the run when he's in there. I believe they moved him to D tackle. He's not even rushing the passer anymore. But I'll take Arizona because they are getting points, and I believe in J.J. Watt to help that defense. So I'll go with Arizona here.
I just pulled up J.J. Watt, his profile here. So a day ago, it says trending in the right direction. So he's not even a lock to play, but I'm assuming he's probably I think he's going to play. It's just really how good is he going to be coming back? It was a shoulder injury. How good is he going to be coming back from that because he's always hurt? So you're going to go Arizona plus the 4. Let's go to Igor.
I think the key to this game, I mean, they both split the season series, is that I think Kyler without DeAndre Hopkins isn't the same quarterback because again that's his safety blanket, and Hopkins is not going to play, which makes life a lot easier on that Rams secondary. The Cardinals do a decent job of running the ball, and the Rams aren't the greatest at running. But I think that's going to be the key of the game where Stafford has all his options and all his availability. Even though I guess there's no Robert Woods, but obviously Beckham and Cooper Kupp, and so I think the Rams have
Jefferson.
Yeah,
Van Jefferson.
Van Jefferson cost me another playoff thing in the fantasy situation. But anyways, I'm still that one hurt bad actually. There's that deep.
He texted me.
I texted him right after him, like it's all over, man. I hate him. It was like an 80-yard bomb, and that's all he did all game. But anyways. I think the Rams have too much firepower, and I think the Cardinals will have a hard time keeping up with it. I think without Hopkins in there, I think the Rams win by a touchdown because, again, it's just an easier time to deal with the Cardinals without that number one wide receiver option. So I'm going to take the Rams to cover by a touchdown.
Brandon.
Hey, what can go wrong will go wrong with the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray as well, too. They start out great, and they just always falter toward the end of the season. But, hey, Cliff Kingsbury actually got his team to playoffs. That's something to actually be proud of. But, yeah, in this game, one thing with Matt Stafford is QBR, I think, was in the 136, 139 area. As soon as OBJ came in the team, it went down to around 90-something. So think about his QBR.
102.9 for the year.
So he was at 139 without OBJ. OBJ always comes to a team, and he's a guy that demands the ball a lot. And he forces – the quarterbacks force the ball to him, so on and so forth. But now, with that said, I do not see the Arizona Cardinals covering this. I think the LA Rams have too much invested in this game. Of course, with all three all-pro players in Cup, Aaron Donald, and of course Jalen Ramsey, they're going to have to. It would be a travesty for them to lose this game. I don't think they do that. I think they win this game. Matt Stafford gets his first playoff win in his career, and they kind of go on from there. So it's going to be one of those. But this is the hardest game, I think, to judge this week, to be honest, in my opinion.
I'm all in on LA. I know that they were my Super Bowl pick preseason. I'm not as locked in on them as I was earlier. Stafford, like everybody else at this point in the season, is banged up, and I know that I gave a little spiel at the beginning of the season on him. Finished with 41 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 4,886 yards, 1,100 more than Kyler Murray. I know Kyler missed a few games there. I want to see what Sony Michel does in this game as well, if they're going to stick to running the ball there, because he's had a pretty decent season for them this year. But yeah, I have LA in this one. I think that they're going to cover, not by too much. I think it might be like Brandon said, like a 5, 6, 7 point game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But yeah, I'm worried about Arizona. Arizona, to me, even though they won last week against Dallas, like you were said, without Hopkins, they're just not the same team. They don't have that all-pro threat there at the wideout position. Kirk had a good season. AJ Green's still there, who I love, but just not the same team. So I'll take LA there. Boys, that wraps up all the games. But we do have to give a lock. So that being said.
Shout out to my lock last week.
Yeah, you nailed it.
The Raiders, covered it, of course. That was great.
Yeah, I got my 5-0 last week. Let's get it going.
That's what I'm saying, man. If things were open, I'd say, like, let's go grab some wings, but we can't. Dougie said no.
Of course, it would happen when we can't actually
That's
go.
what I'm saying, right? But maybe the Super Bowl, it'll be out by then. We'll see what happens. But locks, guys, whoever's ready, go first.
I'm gonna go KC. I think that'll be a blowout. I think that's probably one of the easier games to judge. I think the Niners is also there, but I think the KC one is more of a locked in, double digit 14, 21 point win for KC. So I'll take that.
All right.
I'm gonna take the Buffalo Bills. No one circles the wagons like Buffalo, but I think I'm gonna take the Buffalo Bills to win and cover at home. I say they win by around a touchdown or even 6 points. And I would cover. So I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills. Sorry, Igor.
Buffalo -4. Rob.
Geez, I was going to go with New England, but I don't trust those injuries. I don't trust – I should trust Bill more than I am.
They're all fake injuries. It's just to throw them off.
Yeah, I know. Bill
He's the worst.
Bill's the worst at that.
I'll go with San Francisco. I'll take San Fran as the lock.
San Fran. See, I wanted to make my pick there. I was going to go, to be honest, with Philly. And I want to take Vegas, but I don't want to hurt Brandon in that orange shirt.
No,
today,
take it, man.
So I'm going to go. I'll go LA Rams -4, just so we all have different games because I do like that. I'll go Rams -4. So locks of the week, we got Rob on San Fran +3. Usually you like Shanahan as a dog, right? Is that your rule? Shanahan's a dog, you take him?
Yeah,
Brandon's got Buffalo -4, Igor Kansas City -12.5, and I got the LA Rams -4 to wrap up Wildcard weekend. Guys, you guys want to forecast what's going to happen maybe next week with Green Bay and Tennessee both coming off the bye? Who do you guys like going for the Super Bowl going forward? Your Super Bowl favorites, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want me to go ahead, Igor.
No. I'm gonna make a bold prediction and say that at the end of the day that the Green Bay Packers won't make the Super Bowl. That'll be that's again my bold predict. And again, it's just proven. I'm going with a proven track record that at the end of the day they always end up messing up here. And again, they're due for a loss down in this situation, in my opinion. They kind of lucked out in a couple of late games. Well, I mean they lost to I guess Detroit, but that doesn't really count. I don't know. I'm just not. There's a lot of fanfare there. I think someone in the NFC will upset them. If it's the Rams next week or the 49ers, I don't know. I'm really liking the opportunities of teams going into Green Bay and sneaking out a W. So that's my bold forecast of my I call it the Joe Stradamus situation. In that situation, that Green Bay won't make the Super Bowl.
You taking the field?
I'll take the field in the NFC over Green Bay making the Super Bowl, yes.
Brandon, for a second, when he said Green Bay, I thought he was going to change the tie to say Mr. Ivermectin's going to win another ring.
I remember.
That's what I thought too.
The MVP, which I'm assuming Rodgers is going to get, unfortunately, always ends up messing up in the playoffs. It's a proven track record that the MVPs always end up messing up in the playoffs. So I'll keep with that trend.
Okay,
Not
Brandon,
this
take it
year. Not this year. Mr. Ivermectin, Igor, you're going to eat your words. I'm telling you right now. Not this year. This is the year for the Green Bay Packers. I see them go in the Super Bowl. Are you asking me for my pick to win? Or are you asking me for
away.
like,
Just
who's going
Super
to get
Bowl
to the
favorite
play?
if you want. Yeah, throw out the Super Bowl favorite. Any other
100%.
closing thoughts? Yeah.
It's Lambeau Field, Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. I think this is the year, man. Everything with COVID, I think COVID is giving him a new life. I think Mr. Ivermectin is giving him a new life. Circle that right there, of course, to get to the Super Bowl. I think the San Francisco 49ers give them a really big, like, stiff test if they get to that point because they run the ball very well. The Rams might give them – I just don't see the Rams in Stafford because Stafford already has nightmares going to Lambeau Field as the Detroit line. Him going into the cold and winning in Lambeau, coming from LA, I just don't know if I see that happening, right? So I'm going to take the Packers.
Rob.
I was gonna go with Igor, and then just so many people are taking the Packers that it has kind of scared me off of them. So
But it's very typical to take the number 1 seed, right? Like,
it is, but like there's so much evidence of these guys failing in the playoffs. But I don't think my bold thing is I don't think Aaron should be the regular season MVP, but I think he will be the Super Bowl MVP.
Igor was ready to raise his fist.
Yeah, I don't understand this whole like he deserves to be the MVP. He was like 10th in passing yards. Like Brady had a way better year than him. I don't just because he threw no picks. Like I don't know, man. Like he's clearly it's shown that Green Bay is actually like a pretty good team, a pretty good roster. So he had a good year, but I don't think he deserved the regular season MVP. But I do think he'll win the. And from the other side, it's hard to go against Kansas City. I'm a little worried. I hate to say this. I'm kind of worried about Tennessee, man. They have playoff football written all in them. Big, physical, strong. Don't go ahead. Don't get the hat.
He went to go get his hat.
Don't
No, he's got to come up. He went to go.
Wow.
I was expecting the hat.
I wasn't expecting that at all. You should have started with that. That's jokes.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's good.
And remember, you're and it's not for Rob, it's for everybody. You're forgetting the cardinal rule. You never bet against Thomas, Patrick, Edward, Brady in the playoffs with a good team. Don't worry.
Hey, you guys all took the Eagles to cover. I'm sorry, I went with Tom Brady there.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So Rob, how worried are you about Tennessee?
I'm a little worried, to be honest with you. I kind of like them now. I like their football. I like the brand. I just hate Tannehill. I hate
Tannehill too, so we share that. No, I don't like Tannehill.
But they are big and strong and physical. They're fast. Like they're going to be a load in the playoffs. I still don't know.
Their defense reminds me of Kansas City, where it was absolutely terrible. Like a bottom 5, no questions asked, just a terrible defense. And I don't know how they did it, but both those teams turned around their defense. Probably both in the top 5 units for the second half of the season. And I don't think anybody saw that coming. And what Tennessee did without Henry, I think a lot of people, and rightfully so, wrote them off once he went down.
Yeah.
My only fear is just coming back from a foot injury with that kind being 250. I just want to, I really hope he's going to be fine. But, Derrick Henry would never surprise me if he just ran off right at 50.
Is that Javon Curse?
Yeah, you guys have seen that one before.
Oh man,
that was against the Rams, man.
A freak, man. That guy had one of the best plays I've ever seen against. I think it was in Buffalo, where he absolutely crucified Rob Johnson on a sack. He planted him head first. I thought he was dead. I thought he killed him because he crucified him on that side. I'm like, yo, this guy's dead on the floor. It was a hell of a play. I was a huge Javon Curse fan.
Oh, they were such a likable team back then with Curse.
That's why I was a fan, man.
And Eddie George.
I will say I do have an Eddie George jersey from my younger years at one point. Yeah,
everybody loved George.
Javon Curse, Steve McNair, Wycheck, Dyson. Those were my guys growing up. Right? That was a great 8 for me when they moved. Great. When I started following football, I guess then they were the new team. Baby blue was the color with North Carolina back then, and Vince. I was like, yeah, that's my team. It's a new team. Yeah, I guess my thoughts. Brandon, go ahead.
No. Okay, I'll just say, first of all, you cannot be the MVP, Thomas Brady, if you play that way against the Saints and don't score anything, of course, when your guys go out. So I'm sorry. Cannot be the MVP. Can never happen. It cannot be me.
The heck are you talking about? Rodgers sucked as bad. We had this discussion already.
No, he did. What do you mean he didn't suck as
He
bad?
lost 37-3 to the Saints in week 1. He was awful. He had
That doesn't matter. No one cares about the first game.
Oh,
man.
nobody cares.
What matters now? Oh my! Since that record, he's run.
That game was in Jacksonville.
He's been the best quarterback by far.
Again,
the entire
and
year.
that game exactly. That game was in Jacksonville. That wasn't
But
even.
hold on. What else has happened in Jacksonville this year? How many teams have lost in Jacksonville this year?
The Buffalo Bills lost Jacksonville pretty bad, actually.
Indianapolis lost. Yeah.
I would have given it to and Jonathan Taylor is not like that O-line is fantastic, but I feel like Jonathan Taylor deserves it over Aaron. Like I know Aaron got the first seed, but he only threw for like 3,600 yards or something.
And Taylor over Cup?
Look at the touchdown.
See, even like Cooper 34. Cup even Cup and like listen, the touchdown to interception ratio was fantastic. Like no doubt, but Rodgers is very safe with the ball. He's always kind of had that. I think he has the highest passer rating in NFL history. Like he's the guy. No,
he's not a check down guy either.
He's got the best wide receiver in the game as well, in my opinion. Yeah. So that doesn't help. That doesn't I think Devontae
doesn't help you.
Well, I mean, again, without Devontae Adams, obviously, I think it's a different story for him. But like I said, I mean, knowing the fact that I'll give him the MVP because I know the MVP always fades in the playoffs. I'll take it.
This guy just hates Rodgers. You know what? I want to do a bet with Igor right now, just about we should do a run. We should do something and see.
But remember, the
goes
whole
further.
thing is that this whole thing is the Lambeau Field thing. There, he's again. Let's run him back. He's 1-4 in NFC Championship games. He's made one Super Bowl. He's been a stellar favorite in a lot of those. The Eli Manning Giants went in there that they had no business winning that game in Green Bay and beat them up there. It's not like Lambeau Field.
They had no business beating the Patriots either, Igor.
Well, that defense was incredible at the end of the day. I'll give them credit, but again, Rodgers against certain teams is again. Are you asking me if Tampa? Let's say if it will all go the way it's supposed to, they face, let's say, Tampa. If all goes by the seeding, if you're telling me that, am I confident that Tampa can go in there again and win? Absolutely, they did last year. And yes, they don't have Antonio Brown.
Same team, man.
Yeah, I think
they got the same team.
So my whole thing, I was gonna say, and obviously you guys have definitely been. I got back into football, I would say, the last 2 or 3 years. I've always watched, I've always bet on it, but my insight on the game, this to me is by far, I feel like this is not your fool's gold team, and we could be wrong. I don't think they're gonna lose in their first game, but to me, this team is almost complete. Their defensive backs are good, their D line is decent, their linebackers, and even at the receiver spot, we always say that since at least the last 4 or 5 years since. Most of those guys have been gone. Say Jennings and that other guy that they just brought back that I don't remember his name.
Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb. When he was there the first time, they had wide receivers. Now they have one and a few other guys. And Rodgers is probably in the best form of his career. Now, maybe not the numbers, but I feel he's wiser at this point, right? So for that reason, to me, this team, I don't want to say they're bulletproof because they're not, but there were no hiccups this year the whole season, right? They lost to Minnesota on a last-second field goal. You're not going to win every game. And their other loss was at home where Rodgers didn't want to be there because he didn't have a training camp. And then against Detroit. From what I remember, they only lost the 3 games, right?
Pretty sure. I think it was 4.
So they lost one more.
4 Kansas City, Jordan Love.
Yeah, the Jordan Love game.
So
you can't really count that.
So you look at Aaron Rodgers and you're the guy's been pretty much unbeatable all year. And you talk about the division, talk about whatever you want, but they've been very good. Does any of that matter in the playoffs? No. And last year when they played Tampa, I remember watching that game and I was like, what the hell is going on? Brady and the guy just kept throwing it down their throat and then pick after pick from Rodgers. So Igor does Igor. I'm not saying you don't have points because we all agree that Rodgers' track record in the playoffs has not been great. I'm just saying I have a gut feeling, and based on also proof of the regular season for whatever that's worth, that this is a different team. And
way different team, better defense.
And LaFleur's a better coach, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I will say the one thing I'm
running game.
I'm a little bit thing is that the defense did again. They had their even that Bears game that we watched on Sunday night the Bears obviously weren't a good team. They ran it up on those guys. So I mean them getting I'm assuming they're going to get Jair Alexander back in that secondary. That'll improve them pretty significantly if he's in any sort of game shape. Obviously, again. They're I'm just saying don't give them the flowers yet because they have
and I don't want to give them the flowers yet. I agree with you.
Yeah, they have a proven track record.
We're gonna make it seem like they got no shot from the way that you're talking. You're
you are. Yeah, you are. Make it seem as though it's done. They're done. They're over with.
I think that will they benefit from being in a rather bad division and beating up on some bad teams. Again, they've beaten the Rams. Again,
that's the Patriots. The entire MO. Sorry,
but I'm just telling you. But again,
that's what I mean, right?
Like, you can't really go with the Patriots when they've been to the Super Bowl. Like Rodgers been to the Super Bowl once, so you can't tell me that, because
the NFC's always been the better division too. I think for the longest.
I agree, and that's why the fact that he only got the one Super Bowl is a slight on the situation. Right. 1-4 is 1-4. I'm just stating the facts at the end of the day.
Can we use that for LeBron as well, Igor?
Yeah.
What was that?
Can we use that for LeBron as well? The 1-4, the 1.
Oh no, but he's the anti-LeBron, because at the end of the day, when LeBron was in the Eastern Conference, he was always in the championship situation. He'd always make it for the most part when he got on that crazy run. Rodgers has been a guy that when it comes to getting there, that's been his hiccup in a lot of those games. I think again, I forget who they actually beat to get there, but I remember games against like Seattle where they got beat in Green Bay. There's been Lambeau hasn't exactly been a fortress.
The
like,
Niners,
no, it hasn't. It wasn't. I remember
the Niners when they got beat up pretty good.
The Niners when they went to San Fran, he got destroyed by like 3 touchdowns.
Different team.
Go in there and
defense was not good.
Again, and again, I will say that here's the thing: the defense isn't good. A lot of those games, and I'll take the Tampa game from last year. That game was a disaster in the first half. Brady had an outrageously bad second half, throwing interceptions after interceptions. That's the only reason that game was even close. Mike Evans drops a pass here. Brady doesn't throw a couple of those like red zone picks. The game would have been out of hand. The game was over.
Yeah, because the defense is great, the Tampa Bay defense. But I'll say this: if Rodgers are not able to get it done this year and actually be successful and get the Super Bowl, I'm off of believing on.
Circle that.
I'm done.
I'm
done. Circle that. I'm done. I
don't want to hear no more Aaron Rodgers talk.
Only if they get to the NFC Championship game. Only if they get to the NFC Championship game and they lose that game and choke again, and bad decisions are made, I'm just off. I don't think he's ever going to win this.
Hey, you circle what he said. I want this clip.
No, that's fact. That's fine.
But you're telling me that, again, everything he needs a top defense, like a significantly top defense. He's got the best wide receiver, maybe the best running game with 2 of them. He's got a lot of stuff going for him at the end of the day.
Listen, he made Devontae Adams the best receiver in the league. He making Allen Lazard the best. He is. He's throwing him open. He is, man. And quarterbacks have
Devontae Adams, to me, is on one-on-one one of the most uncoverable guys in the league. All he needs is a reasonably accurate. Again, you're going to be like, what happened with the Jordan Love game? Jordan Love wasn't throwing any decent balls. So obviously, you need a half adequate quarterback. But I think Devontae Adams in one-on-one situations is incredible. But again, he'll match up, let's say, with Jalen Ramsey, and he'll have a great game against Jalen Ramsey, where a lot of guys really suffer against Ramsey. So I think you're undercutting what Devontae Adams can do. But anyways,
this is the Packers year. If they don't get it done, it's over.
Okay. I'll be waiting. I'll be waiting in the wings.
I'll tell you one thing: if Green Bay goes against Tampa, we're definitely getting together for that game. I don't care.
I don't care. Mask on, mask off. I don't care. We're going to do that for sure if that happens.
It's
all right, boys.
It's a possibility.
Playoffs are here. It's been fun. It's going to continue to be fun. And we will. I'm going to post this, and then we'll join up next week, and we're going to have to talk about Rodgers next week. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will catch you guys next week on the block. Take care.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Bengals. There we go. All right, guys.